Hello, Jacksonites, and welcome to a new ranking video. So, I know I said at the end of my top 100 favorite films, part 4, that I will be re-reviewing Robocop. I'm not canceling those plans. I'm just postponing them because very soon I'll be getting my hands on the last two pieces of the Robocop franchise, live action at least, very, very soon. Specifically, the 1994 Robocop TV series, which will finally be released May 10th of this year. And also very soon I'll be getting my hands on all 4 episodes of Robocop Prime Directives. So I want to watch all of those before I review the Robocop franchise again in full. So, in the meantime, in celebration of 2 very special days, one of which being my birthday, April 16th, as I don't believe I've stated before, but April 16th, 1997 is the date of my birth. And this today is obviously April 13th, so I still have a couple days to go. But tomorrow, April 14th, is apparently National Burt Gummer Day. So that kind of gives it away, plus the title of this video. Today, I will be re-ranking the Tremors franchise. Why are you doing this, you might ask? Well, for a few reasons. One, my opinions are much more solidified now that I've re-listened to all of my Tremors reviews with Trevor Boy from last year 3 or 4 times. 2, Dead Meat, the channel Dead Meat, James A. Janice has gone on hiatus for a little bit, and in the meantime, his friend Zoran has been replacing him, or not replacing him, but have been filling in his shoes by doing kill counts of all 7 Tremors movies. I held off and held off and held off for so long, but eventually I broke down and I watched them. Of course, they were entertaining as fuck, and they just got me into a big Tremors mood. So obviously, I'm not gonna re-review the Tremors franchise again. I mean, I'd kind of like to. No, I'm not going to, because my opinions haven't changed that much, but how I rank the franchise, I think, has changed enough to be different enough from the original list. Not to mention, I went back and I rewatched my original ranking video with Trevor Boy. His stuff was fine, though I do think that video just went on a little bit too long. It just got a little bit too rambly at points. So, not to mention, too, April 14th is Burt Gummer Day, so I want to do something Tremors related to celebrate the occasion. So I actually also, another reason too is a couple months ago I actually rewatched the entire Tremors franchise in like the snap of a finger. I rewatched all 7 movies, and I rewatched all 13, finally did it, episodes of Tremors the Series. And I just had a total blast watching them, and a couple opinions might surprise you with this list. This might not be a super long video, but it's been something I've been wanting to do. And also, to even more so celebrate the occasion, next week, I am definitively saying this, next week I will be re-reviewing Tremors the Series, as well as Tremors Shrieker Island. So another thing too, during me and Trevor Boy's original Tremors re-review series, I kind of regret not re-reviewing part 7 with Trev, and actually not in depth reviewing the series. Sure, we ranked all the episodes, but I still think we could have said new stuff about Tremors the series if we were to actually review it. Like, I don't know what Trev's personal history with that show is. I've kind of given parts of it for myself, but I've never really told the full story. So next week I will be reviewing Tremors the series and re-reviewing Tremors Shrieker Island to celebrate even more so Burt Gummer Day. So with all that being said, I cracked it open already, but here is my Burt Fuel. And with all that being said, let us dive into my re-ranking of the Tremors franchise. Starting, of course, with the very bottom of the barrel. Although, so another disclaimer too, now that I've rewatched all of these movies and given more concrete opinions, especially with having a lot of views on the fan base's reaction to a lot of these movies, and just more so pinning down my legit thoughts more so than our reviews, actually. I still can concretely say that, in my opinion, the weakest link of the entire Tremors franchise is 2018's Tremors A Cold Day in Hell. This is still the weakest of the series, in my opinion. In hindsight, so when I rewatched all of the Tremors movies after having reviewed them with Trevor Boy, I was kind of dreading part 6. I felt the pull of the Tremors completionist in me to saying, just watch it, just watch it. But I was like, but I don't want to. I didn't like it. Funny thing, I think just like Trev, I'm starting to suffer from Stockholm syndrome with that film too, because I actually ended up enjoying it moderately. I still say, as I've stated, it is the weakest link in the series. It does still have a lot of problems. It's very obvious that Cinemotion just now has their hooks firmly stuck into the Tremors franchise, and they're just saying, if we're going to work on these movies, we're using our designs, damn it. They still stick out like a sore thumb. The cast of characters is just annoying and not very interesting. There's not that much appearance of the Graboids. It's very derivative of the original movie. And the biggest flaw of all, and this is really the thing that kills this movie, is it fails. Absolutely fails on showing Graboids in the Arctic. As we've stated, this movie was not indeed shot in anywhere near snow. It was shot once again in South Africa. Sure, at least they intended at first to shoot in Bulgaria, of all places, but they had just endured a massive blizzard beforehand, so they were unable to shoot there. I would still ask Don Michael Paul or whoever said just shoot it in Africa, why don't you just go to Canada or Siberia or wherever there might be snow? Why lie to us and showcase this is sand and you're calling it snow? No, sir, that does not work. This movie does have a lot of problems, but going back and actually just trying to sit down and enjoy it, it has a lot of problems, but the true Tremors fan in me still finds things about this movie to like. There are actually a fair bit of funny moments. I still say part 5 is the funniest, but 6 does have some good funny lines. At least the gland wasn't in the prostate. um, Free Willy and let the big dog eat. My balls are in the Guinness Book of Balls. There's some good Bert-isms in this movie. Even though Bert is still a cranky grump fuck throughout this movie, there still are moments where you're just like, yeah, that's Bert. That's totally Bert. The Graboid CGI is very, very impressive. The Ass Blaster CGI is impressive too. There's some good kills. There's a lot of monster gore in this movie. They made a shit ton of monster gore behind the scenes, and they definitely use a lot of it. The practical full-size Graboid head, not super impressive. I mean, gone are the days of the really impressive Graboid effects. So compared to that, this does look very limited, but still for what it is, I appreciate that Cinemotion actually was trying to throw some of the classic fans a bone, saying, okay, here's some more practical effects, but we're still mostly CGI. And another very impressive thing about this movie is that there's a lot of practical building destruction shots where graboids will ram something from underneath to send it flying. Usually it's on fire or it's in pieces when it hits the ground. Like Ferretzi, his truck gets annihilated. There's a couple trailers that get annihilated. And that one chick that gets torn apart in a hot spring, they use an actual buoy throughout the water to simulate a graboid moving around. So there is a fair amount of stuff to actually like about Tremor 6. Just still, though, in the overall scale of the franchise, I really do think that this is the weakest link. It's the one where, and it definitely is the cheapest looking Tremors movie, without a shadow of a doubt. This one does unfortunately suffer more than it does succeed. Still, though, the Tremors fan in me finds things about this movie to enjoy. Still, though, it is the weakest link. In hindsight, I actually am going to bump my rating up to it, though, to a 5 out of 10. I gave it a 4 originally, but now I'm going to definitively just give it a 5. It's square right in the middle in terms of rating. Although it's not the square middle of the franchise as far as I'm concerned. That title is going to number 7 on this list, surprisingly, is Tremors 4. Tremors 4 is not a bad movie, not in the slightest. Similar to Trev, how he feels for Alien Resurrection, I've come to really realize Tremors 4 also does feel pretty distant from the Tremors franchise. In a few ways. Similar to Alien, there's a couple really odd parallels between Tremors 4 and Alien Resurrection. One, they share an actor. The guy who plays Old Fred plays Ren in Alien Resurrection. So there's that. And they both get very over-the-top deaths involving their heads. The big thing, though, that makes this feel distant is that it literally is distant from the rest of the series. Alien Resurrection takes 200 years after the events of Alien 3, whereas Tremors 4 takes place 100 years before the events of the original Tremors. And also, it's the Western one. Now, there's a couple Westerns that I do like. Like, I like John Wayne's McClintock. I like Sam Raimi's The Quick and the Dead. But really, other than that, I'm just really not that big of a Tremors, totally, I'm a huge Tremors fan. Not that big of a fan of Westerns. And sure, you can make a Western better by making it a Tremors movie, but at the end of the day, it is still also a Western movie. So it's like what Trev says, it really is a mood piece. Not to mention, too, it's just graboids once again. That's a little boring to me, especially like we already had only graboids in the first Tremors. Then Tremors 2, of course, has the Shriekers, and then Part 3 has Ass Blasters. And then before Tremors 4 in 2003, we had Tremors the Series, which had a giant slew of monsters under its disposal. And then you move to Tremors 4, it's just graboids once again. That to me is just kind of boring. Looking back, that's also kind of an issue with Tremors A Cold Day in Hell, too. It's just mostly graboids once the 2 or 3 ass blasters are killed off. And again, that's a little boring for me. I like having more than just graboids. The introduction of the dirt dragons or the baby graboids does mediate that somewhat, but in the end, it is still just graboids. I prefer having more than just the graboids. Though there are, of course, a lot of good things to say about Tremors 4. The special effects are very, very good. Probably KMB's best work. The effects on Tremors the Series are really good too, but this has a bit more of a feature film feel to it, whereas the effects in Tremors the Series look definitely like TV effects. But still, the KMB does a really, really good job with the graboids in this. It definitely does work as a prequel, and it works as a Western. And of course, hands down, the best part of the movie, aside from the effects, is Billy Drago as Black Hand Kelly. I recommend you keep that hog leg skinned, unless you have a desire to be jumping over hot coals in hell. This is one sorry collection of lead pushers you got here. Well, if that's what they are, then they came out of one big chicken. Or maybe you two are as crazy as I've been thinking. Now that is one catawampously charred up rig. And of course, my favorite of all, you want to bed down with a real pretty woman. Suppose you just hire somebody to do that too. Billy Drago as Black Hand Kelly is hands down, yes, the best part of the movie. Still, though, aside from aside from there just being only graboids, really the biggest thing that kills this movie for me, this is the slowest Tremors movie. I get that it's well done. It has a purpose. It's done to serve as Hiram Gummer's arc from turning from a pampered ass into a more compassionate and humble individual. Still, though, the scenes that the movie drags and slows down just don't really sit well with me. And it just kind of makes me feel like, can we just move on, please? And I just don't really want to feel that way. When I watch a movie, it can take its time, sure, but when it drags to the point where I'm just like, can we just move on, get something interesting? That's a problem for me. So once again, to reiterate, Tremors 4 isn't a bad movie, but this is the other one where I'm just like, I really have to be in a major Tremors mood to watch this one. If I just like want to watch one or two of the series, Tremors 4 is definitely not going to be one of them. Still, though, it's not a bad film. Moving on to number 6 is Tremors Shrieker Island. Tremors Shrieker Island, I don't dislike nearly as much as I used to. I rewatched it. Now that I've seen it actually twice, and now especially that I've seen the dead meat kill count of Tremor 7, where that turned out to be Zoran's least favorite movie. I see why. I definitely do see why. And I can understand if somebody does not like this movie. And it does have a lot of problems. It's probably almost tied with A Cold Day in Hell for issues. All of the movie's kills are just dragged off screen kills, and they're so lame. The Shriekers, the redesign is really cool, but the Shriekers really just kind of show up to die. Um, and they're also not on screen very much. It's kind of a shame that it's called Shrieker Island, yet the Shriekers have maybe 5 minutes of total screen time in this movie. Maybe 8 at the most, but still, it's an hour and 42-minute long movie, and the title monsters are barely in it. Also, real underutilization of the graboids, and once again, reusing the designs. Although, if you just use the headcanon of these are just African Shriekers smuggled in from part 5, then it makes sense, but still. And really, the worst scene of the entire Tremors franchise being the death of Burt Gummer. Yeah, it kind of sucks. But ultimately now, I'm actually kind of okay with it now. I still say it's the worst scene in the franchise, but in the context of the series, I guess you kind of could say it was only really a matter of time before Burt Gummer was gonna die by a graboid's hand anyway. Not to mention, if this really is the final Tremors movie with Michael Gross, and it was because Michael Gross is saying, I can't think of anything else to do with Burt, or I kind of just want to retire the role of Burt Gummer. The guy is 75 years old. Can you really blame him? So it sucks, but still, the movie before Burt's death does have good things going for it as well. It flows along at a really brisk pace. There is some fun action scenes. There's some really good slow-mo shots, especially one that comes up to mind for me is when Jimmy and Burt save the hunting party from the Shriekers with their flamethrowers. It's a badass hoorah scene. There's some good graboid gore. There's some good Shrieker and graboid kills. And like I said, the design of the Shriekers. Yes, I would. I would definitely consider the graboids to be modern day universal monsters. Absolutely. Once again, the design of the Shriekers is really, really good. Thankfully, they don't just reuse the ass blaster design, but they just like retool it to make it just look more like a Shrieker. They look more like mutated, evolved versions of the classic Stampede era Shriekers. So that's cool. One of the biggest things that pops out to me is all the movie references, because not only is there 2 Godzilla drops, they reference Rambo, Predator, and even Evil Dead, with Jimmy going around killing Shriekers with a chainsaw. It's funny. It's kind of clever, and you can definitely tell that at least as far as I'm concerned, you can tell that the filmmakers were having fun again. There was just something about part 6 that just feels like it was a mandated, oh, we got to have another Tremors movie. Here, just make it now. This one feels like they were putting effort into the series again. Not as much as part 5, at least for this new team, but still, this one just feels a bit more fun than the last one. Another thing too is that this doesn't look nearly as cheap as part 6. There's a lot of really beautiful shots of the tropical landscape in this film, and you definitely can't say that this fails at showcasing graboids or Shriekers on a tropical island, because they actually did shoot this movie in Thailand. So good on them for that. Overall, Tremors Shrieker Island, it has a fair bit of problems, but there are some things that I missed out on the last time I watched this. So Good on them for that. The franchise doesn't quite end on a whimper. It could have ended better, but for a seventh movie, I think this movie could have been a little worse. And thankfully it's not. So, yeah, it's a little bit better. Coming up next at number 5 is Tremors 3. Tremors 3 also has quite a few problems, but I was surprised at how nostalgic I was for this one. Every time that I've rewatched this movie recently, this was another one that I was fairly excited about seeing. It mostly takes me back to all those memories I had renting it from Blockbuster and watching the shit out of it at home, and just digging the living fuck out of it. It's definitely a very big nostalgic film for me. It still does suffer from its fair share of problems. It looks like a TV movie. And actually, now that I think about it, that problem can be mediated if you just watch this in the mindset of it is actually a TV movie and it's the pilot for Tremors the series. It may as well be, so you could just call it a 14th episode of the show. So, in that sense, that kind of does mediate that problem. But a lot of the characters are really annoying and really obnoxious and irritating. Um, it definitely is tame, which that's one problem I will say about Tremors 7 real quick. I'm now going to definitively say, in my opinion, that Tremors Shrieker Island is the tamest of the entire Tremors series. 3 and 6 come close. Actually, no. I'd probably say 3 is the only one that comes really, really close. This is actually the only Tremors movie to be rated PG, whereas the rest of them are PG-13. Um, yeah, it's very tame. It Even though it had a $6 million budget, there are just a couple times where it just feels a tad rushed, and you can definitely feel that short shooting schedule of 22 days hitting in effect at times. The lack of shriekers for me is a real big pet peeve. The ass blasters are cool additions to the mythology, but they're still my least favorite form of the graboids. But still, Tremors 3 is a really fun flick. If you're a bit, it has a lot of callbacks to the first Tremors movie, which are much appreciated. It's really cool that they managed to get all of the original cast back from the first film. The action scenes are all a lot of fun. The chemistry between Bert, Jack, and Jody toward the end of the movie starts to get really strong and enjoyable. The music is really great. Just overall, Tremors 3 is a fun time. It maybe objectively is the weakest of the Stampede era, but I still think there's a lot of good things going for it, and I think it's slightly underrated. I think it's a fun time. Now, coming up next at number 4 is still going to be the original Tremors. Um, I've said a lot about this movie. As I've stated in my last video, this is number 10, I believe, on my top 100 favorite movies. So I feel like I've said enough about it, but still, whatever. I do love the original Tremors. It is a fantastically made movie. It's very entertaining. It's got a great mix of humor, horror, sci-fi, and monster stuff. The characters are great. The music is good. The special effects are really awesome. The monster action is a lot of fun. There's really nothing inherently wrong with this film, but just in the context of the franchise, there's 3 more that I like. And retroactively, too, as I've said, I like it when Tremors has more than just one monster to work with. This is the better example of just using the graboids, of course. This is probably where they're most realistic. Aside from part 5, probably their most threatening. But the most with just the graboids is probably done here as well. It's a very, very, very good start to a great franchise, but that's just what it is. It's the start. It can only go so far because I like more of the franchise more than this. But still, at number 4 in this list, um, there's nothing taken away from that. Tremors is a phenomenal, phenomenal monster movie and a phenomenal movie overall. I just like more of the series more than this. Then finally coming up next, we have Tremors 2. Yep. Again, like with the original Tremors, I already talked about this in my top 100, but I love Tremors 2. It's a great sequel. It's one of my favorite films. It's one of my favorite sequels. Sure, the original script for Tremors 2 would have been a badass, kick-ass sequel. Still, though, Tremors 2 in its original state works very, 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 very well. I love the Shriekers that here once again. Actually, no. I would actually say they're more threatening in the show because they kill a lot more people. But still, here, the Shriekers are so fucking great. This is the last time that Tremors was really, really scary. All of the nighttime suspense scenes when the graboids are dying and the Shriekers are running around killing things. It's a lot of fun. It's very atmospheric and heavy and tense and creepy. The character stuff with Earl and Bert, Grady, and what's her name? Kate is all really good. Like Tremors 4, there's one or two moments where the movie slows down slightly, but not nearly as bad as Tremors 4. And it's also not nearly as long as Tremors 4, too. Yeah, Tremors 2 is just fucking awesome. I love it to death. It's a great movie and it's a great sequel and it's one of the best of the entire franchise. At number 2 comes Tremors the Series. Yeah, actually, I'm definitively saying Tremors the Series is a couple things. It is the second best of the franchise as far as I'm concerned. I do think Tremors actually could make, obviously it does, but even more so, I think Tremors would make for a really, really good TV series. This, of course, is great. It's just the biggest damn problem with this show is that it's so damn short. A 26 episode run would have been perfect for me. If fucking only. But no, fucking dickhead assholes. Still, in its current form, Tremors the Series is one of my favorite TV shows. I also think this is the best of the Stampede era. This is when Stampede was really firing on all cylinders for their Tremors vision. Anybody that says that, well, this gets away from the core monsters, not really. The core monsters are still in this show quite a bit. There's just more stuff that's introduced alongside the core monsters. And they feel right at home in the Tremors mythology. Mixmaster is a really fascinating concept that could give you almost an unlimited amount of different monsters to choose from. Hell, you could have some of these monsters go up against the core Tremors monsters. Have hybrid coyote scorpion monsters go up against a horde of shriekers. Have a hybridized flock of albatrosses with crab legs and scorpion tails go up against a couple ass blasters. Have a rhino with trying to think. Spider fangs and bat wings go up against a graboid. Have El Blanco take out a whole swarm of hybrid monsters. There's a lot of different ideas that Mixmaster could have given this show had it gotten more steam. But still in its current state, also, this is something I realized too. One, while the effects definitely look like they're in a TV show, K&B does a really, really good job with the resources that they're given with the show's effects. The Shriekers look great. The Ass Blasters look great. The El Blanco looks phenomenal. The CGI actually is not nearly as bad as I initially thought it was, especially for a TV show, like especially the CGI Shriekers. They actually look pretty damn solid. The animatronics, of course, always look really good too. And I actually wouldn't be surprised if this show technically has the biggest budget of the entire Tremors franchise in total, 13 episodes. Hang on a second. Sorry. Yeah, overall. Oh, and one last thing too. Oh, so two things. This is probably also the goriest of the entire Tremors franchise. The Shrieker episodes, Flora and Fauna, and probably Feeding Frenzy are the goriest episodes of the whole series, where people and animals are just being literally torn to pieces and stripped down to the bone. There's lots of blood and gore and slime and graboid and shrieker guts all over the place. It's a lot of fun to watch. But also another thing I realized, if you have problems with Tremors 3 and also Tremors 2 underutilizing their monsters and like going on rampages and killing things, this show mediates a lot of those problems as well. The Ass Blaster actually kills people in Tremors the Series, only 2, but still, both of them are gnarly kills. And especially in the 2 Shrieker episodes, they definitely do kill a lot of people and fuck a lot of shit up. So this show actually showcases more of the damage that Shriekers and Ass Blasters can do to humans and animals. So that's more satisfying there too. Overall, yeah, Tremors the series, it's painfully and miserably underrated. It's in terms as a TV show, but also in the Tremors fan base. It just seems like this is the one installment that either is just forgotten about or people just kind of choose to ignore. I'll never understand why. I really think this is the number one most underrated installment of the entire franchise. More so than my number one, which should surprise nobody, as it is still Tremors 5. Now, again, the stealing of the Tremors franchise from Stampede Entertainment by Universal is a big dick move and is pretty questionable on their parts. And it's a real crying shame that they did that to them. But still, like with Disney in Star Wars Episode 7, I think they started off this new series with very good intentions. Tremors 5 is an absolute blast as far as I'm concerned. It raises the stakes. It introduces a new side of the monsters that we'd never thought about, but makes perfect sense and feels right at home in the Tremors mythology. Uh, it introduces new characters, i.e., Jamie Kennedy as Travis, Bert's son. Introduces a new dynamic between father and son as being possible monster hunters. And just overall, there's people here that are obviously fans of the original movie, and it shows because there's a lot of callbacks, there's a lot of motifs, there's a lot of references to the first film. Hell, the opening font of Tremors 5 looks like the opening font of Tremors 1. It's great. Honestly, I don't think you could have asked for a better fifth installment in the franchise. Tremors 5 Bloodlines is a total blast and is a phenomenal Tremors movie. And of course, is a phenomenal film overall. So that was a lot of fun. Look forward to next week to my review of Tremors the Series. This was a lot of fun to do, actually. I didn't think it would be as long as this. Post your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Hit the like button and hit the subscribe button and share this video with your friends. Happy birthday to me and happy birth Gummer Day. And I will see you guys in the next video.